It's finally here. The most anticipated yet frustrating update we've had in quite some time. What would have been the Bridges and Ports DLC has now turned into a small but quite mighty patch, with the intentions to hold us over until Q4 of 2025, which could be as late as December. I feel I'm speaking for a lot of players right now when I say that this update isn't exactly what we wanted, especially because Paradox has now delayed this DLC twice in a row now. But I'm a human being with moral standards, and I completely understand where they're coming from to a degree. This delay isn't out of laziness or logistical issues or anything like that. It's because they want to deliver a DLC that has quality mixed with impactful practicality. So today, I'm going to be exploring this small but a little mighty patch note, and we're going to see if it's all it's cracked up to be. We'll explore what's good about the update and what I think needs improvement. Now, let's stop the yapping and get to critiquing. The immediate no-brainer about this update that I think everybody knows about is the fact that this update adds keys to City Skylines 2. It adds in 5 different types, as well as some bridges that we're going to be talking about later. It adds in a narrow pier, a medium pier, and a wide pier. It also adds in 2 different types of keys that both act the exact same way, but have pedestrian functionality to them. So let's take a look at what they look like. Something that you can probably notice is the fact that we have a new option, which is snapping to the shoreline. This wasn't necessarily something that was done with the pavement paths, but now it's done with keys, since these are usually placed near oceans. We have the exact same tool modes: continuous, complex, simple, and straight curves. And of course, you can disable these snapping tools as much as you like. You can even place them on land, which can also help with terraforming as well, by creating guidelines. Originally, you'd have to use pavement paths for this, but they conform to the land. But these are straight, meaning that they won't conform to the land and go up and down and make a bunch of lumpy bumpies that we don't want, which can really help with building up hillsides. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to place it down regularly. We can smooth out the land and we can create a perfect key wall. Now, something that I do notice is the lack of fences. Considering that this is a pedestrian facility and people are going to be walking on key walls, it doesn't really make any sense to not have fences. Something that I'm hoping in the future that they'll add is the ability for you to add fences, or at least have some customizability with how this looks. Something else that I'm also noticing is that there isn't really a width setting for this. We can also upgrade these with a rib pattern, which gives it that more urban feel. Oh god, I don't know what just happened there. Let's go ahead and place that down again so we can take a nicer look at it. So this is what a rib pattern looks like. And it looks pretty cool, but again, they add exactly the same functionality. And this one also lacks fences as well, but it does have a little bit of a lip on the front, or a bit of a curb. So I can totally imagine this being a real practical thing in an actual city. But I also think that fences are just needed. It's a weird thing I have, but it just really adds to that immersion to building a city, especially one that's by the ocean and whatnot. I do like the nice concrete texture on these assets though. They look pretty nice, and I do think that they did take their time with this. Though something that I did notice was when you upgraded the key, it kind of broke the asset. I think that was just the way I placed it, so I don't really think it's that big of a deal. So let's just go ahead and demolish it, and let's take a look at the other ones. Next, we have a narrow wooden leisure pier. Now, something that I actually noticed was the fact that, first of all, you can make these boys long, and second of all, they're actual functioning piers. Pedestrians will walk on these, and if we look at the park menu, which I think is just right over here, on the leisure tab, we can see that these are actual leisure facilities, meaning that citizens are actually going to be drawn to it. It's not like in the past where you'd have to put a pavement path all the way down into the ocean, and pedestrians will occasionally walk on it in case if their AI gets mixed up. Now, pedestrians will actually go onto these piers and actually hang out and take a look at the nice, beautiful, crisp, and blue water, which is absolutely a necessity for this game. I love the fact that citizens are able to do that. And then we have the medium wooden pier, which of course is a little bit wider, and it comes with, actually, something that I did notice was the fact that it comes with benches and assets and lights. These lights look something like, East Coast USA. Like, I've totally seen this before in North Carolina. It's absolutely phenomenal, and I'm really, really proud of how this came out. Next, we have the wide wooden piers. These ones come with gazebos and little areas to grab magazines, which looks absolutely phenomenal. I really like this little asset right here. It looks like a kind of a Chinese style pier. And something that I also noticed was the fact that the lights are different colors as well. of course, adds to the individuality of each pier, but it also kind of still retains the same exact style. And I really, really appreciate the fact that they put time and effort into this. Something else that this update added in terms of the keys was 4-lane keys, as well as 2-lane keys, which are labeled now medium key with 2-way road and wide key with 4-lane road. They can be snapped together perfectly fine, and this is definitely perfect for those who don't really want to use individual mods in order to create, the retaining walls like we'd had to do in the past. Now you don't have to, but the only difference with this is the fact that, again, there are no fences, which it's just really tripping me up because it just looks like the pedestrians could just fall out of the water. And unless if we're trying to create liabilities in our city, I don't think that that's really the best idea to have. But it definitely looks pretty cool, and let's go ahead and look at some more logistical things that City Skylines has added into the game. So one thing that was in the patch notes was an update to the export and import menu, especially with cargo hubs. Now, this is the cargo harbor. Of course, I figured that they would update the cargo harbor given the fact that this is a bridges and ports expansion. So let's go ahead and look at the menu. And immediately we can notice that something is way different. Now we have menus about the amount of storage and the balance between trade between you and a neighboring city. Gray means that it's balanced, meaning that nothing's being imported and you don't have a surplus or a deficit in something. A surplus would indicate that it's green, meaning that you have extra, which also means that you'll be exporting. And a deficit means that you're losing something, so you need to import it. You can open up this tab in stored resources, and this is how you'll open it up. Something that I am noticing the fact is that you can't actually control the amount of pricing. Something that I was hoping when this update dropped was the fact that you'd be able to kind of update the economy a little bit. While we did get that Economy 2.0 patch not too long ago, I still think that it's really important that we actually still have that flexibility to be able to change the prices of things. Example, if I'm making a surplus, say for vegetables, I should be able to go into, say, the production tab, go over to vegetables, click on it, and then change the export pricing based on what the city needs. And I could change this price on every city. So I could say have it be, $50 per kilogram for one city and have it be 100 kilograms for another city. It's this little in-depth thing that turns this game from a city painter to an actual simulation game. So right now, I think that this menu is a little bit useless and a bit redundant, but in my opinion, I do think that they might have a plan to add something. But they did add one thing, and that was fish. This is definitely something that I didn't expect. I figured since Bridges and Ports is, of course, near the coast, near rivers and streams and anything to do with water, I kind of expected there to be fish. And initially when City Skylines 2 released, I was surprised that there wasn't any fish, because City Skylines 1 had the ability to harvest fish and sell it. And, I mean, that was honestly one of the biggest ways that you could get money in the game, was just by having a fishing boat go around. However, something that I am noticing is that there is not a menu to harvest the fish. So it just makes me wonder how exactly you're supposed to get the fish, since there's no specialized industry for it. I'm hoping in the future they'll add something, but I guess this is just sort of a sneak peek into what the DLC is supposed to include, and I'm hoping that when the DLC does include it, they'll release a free update that'll add in the fish. Right now, I don't really think that it has much of a use for it, and you'll just be importing it, which I guess will just be an extra cost to your city. I mean, I hope not, but honestly, I feel like that's probably what it's ended up gonna be. Now, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this whole thing. First of all, they have tons of gameplay fixes and improvements. Enough to where I can't even read them in one video. A couple of ones to note is the fact that you can look at commercial buildings and you can see how much they're storing, and once they get low, they'll send out a truck to get it. This was a pre-existing gameplay loop, but they added in the ability for you to actually look at how much storage a commercial building has, instead of just taking a wild guess. They've also fixed a bug of citizens not paying for goods while shopping. This is another thing that I didn't even know existed in City Skylines 2 up until now, but I'm good that they have that, meaning that you might actually see a little bit more money being made in your city. I would totally load up Boviday or Sonder County, but since they're so heavily modded, I'm unable to load it right now. But something that I did notice, and this was from something that I noticed in City Planner Plays' video, was the fact that he's suddenly just making more money out of the blue, and he can't really explain why. Now, I'm unaware of why that could be too. I think a part of it is also because citizens are paying for goods, and there's more movement through your city now with a lot of these bug fixes, but I'm not too entirely sure. They've also fixed some logistical bugs, like deactivated buildings are still being used, so they've disabled that, which is good. They've also fixed cargo ships overlapping when arriving at a deactivated cargo harbor. A lot of deactivated buildings tend to do this. I've also noticed that that's happened with cargo train hubs as well. They've also fixed some outside connections, like cargo stops having the same amount of cargo, connection resources storage having a huge negative resource balance in some of your old saves. So hopefully they would have gotten that updated, so if you have a really old save for Skylines 2 that you've been stuck with since launch, you should be okay and be able to play that save normally now. They've also fixed some of the signature buildings that are being summed incorrectly. However, there are some bugs that I've noticed with a couple of the industrial and office buildings. They're stuck at 5 employees again. This was an update that was fixed like a year ago, I think, come to think of it. Yeah, when they fixed the Economy 2.0 and they added in like a linear progression for a lot of the office zones. They're stuck at 5 employees again, and I hope that this doesn't become another homeless issue where we're going to have that homeless problem again, because that would be really annoying, and it could definitely throw a cork into your office buildings. Now, something that I did notice was if you just crank up the taxes at 30%, or you just delete the buildings and let them rezone, it should fix itself. But it's still annoying that this bug, especially if you have a really urbanized city, you're going to have to go in and delete a lot of office buildings, and that's just something that I feel like a lot of players don't want to have to deal with. So hopefully they'll release some sub-patch to fix that, but I don't really think so. Now, what are my personal opinions about this? Do I think that this is a good update, a bad update, or far in between? Well, I don't really know. Honestly, I'd like to say that this is a good update. It gave us some content that could definitely be explored in the future and can add some nice life to your city. But I also think that there was just a lot more that could have been released with this update, like the Bridges and Ports DLC. But again, I'm kind of ignoring the DLC. After all, we're all human beings. We get overworked. We get tired. I totally get it. But I definitely think that in the future, Paradox Interactive really needs to focus on their deadlines of delivering on time. So far, from City Skylines 2's release, they haven't met a singular deadline, and they've had to push out every single bit of content. Now, whether this was due to a bunch of logistical issues in the beginning with a lot of bug fixes that they had to do, which, again, I can understand, but I also think that it's just not fair to us as players and us as consumers who are buying your product to have to wait such a long amount of time for content that was promised to us 6 months ago. It's definitely a huge issue, and I'm hoping that this is really just a bump in the road and it'll get fixed within, hopefully by next year. Again, I thought that a lot of these problems were going to be fixed last year, and they still haven't been fixed. A lot of problems that still persist in the game, like the homelessness bug being in every single park, that still kind of exists in some degree. And while again, some of these problems are supposed to happen in your city, homelessness is supposed to happen in your city, it does not mean that, you know, issues like this should be ignored just because it's supposed to be part of the gameplay loop. Personally, I agree with a lot of the patch notes that they put out. I think that they added to the quality of the game. My game loads in faster, there's noticeable performance improvements overall. I tried to load in a city, but I think it's because I need to let my mod packs update by the end of the day today. About the DLC, about the patch, personally, again, I think that it was definitely needed. I think we were due for a patch. Again, they left us in the dark for, and I'm looking at it now, March 18th was the last patch, and that was the anniversary patch, 1.2.5F1. This was the last patch that we had, and it wasn't even really a big one. It added in a lot of parks, it added in a lot of stuff, and this one added in, again, another lightweight patch. I'm not expecting, also, for patch notes to get any larger until we release that DLC. Until Paradox Interactive releases that DLC, I'm not expecting a massive patch before then, because of the fact that they're probably overworked enough as it is to actually get this content out, and more importantly, they're definitely trying to push out content to keep people interested in the game, you know? That's the biggest thing about this, is that you have to keep your player base interested, and you have to keep them coming back. And of course, if they left us in the dark and they didn't upload any content, the performance of the game itself, not in terms of gameplay, but in terms of player count, would have definitely decreased. And as somebody who loves City Skylines, the last thing I want this game to do is die out due to, lack of transparency and lack of updates. So I'm happy that they did send out this patch. It's also just in time for the summer, so it definitely makes a little bit of sense for them to release a patch like this, especially with peers. I definitely think that that's really nice. But overall, what do I think? I'd rate this patch like a 6 out of 10. It's nothing glamorous. I'm not knocking down points because this is a bad patch. This is a good patch, but it adds in a lot of useless content. It adds in the stuff with the cargo hub and like how the pricing works. I just wish that they would be a lot more accurate with that, and I really hope that when they do release this DLC, they'll release a massive patch that'll include all the things that I listed in this video. But as always, I think that this definitely is a step in the right direction. It's nice to know that they're being transparent. They're telling people how it is. Hey, we're delaying the DLC for now until Q4. It's nice that they were transparent about it. In the past, they weren't very transparent about it, and I think that that's a reason why a lot of the reviews on Steam are mixed right now, is because of the fact that they weren't transparent in the beginning. And yeah, I mean, I think that there's still tons of improvement. I mean, there's tons of improvement for every game, but this is definitely a different case, and I'm just hoping that in the future, they will continue this transparency, because right now, they're on good track to continue this level of transparency. That'll definitely help them in the near future. So anyways, what did you guys think about this patch? Let me know down in the comments below. If you think this was a big patch, let me know. If you think that there was anything that I missed that I should have gone over, please, of course, let me know. I am a complete open book. As always, everybody, my name's Brett, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. This was a pretty good patch, and I'm hoping for a lot more. So, peace out, stay frosty, stay curious, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!